Yeah.
Well, it's not just the political world where women are taking a stand. This film and television awards season is sparking new dialogue about representation and inclusion. Just last night, a number of women received recognition at the SAG Awards in Los Angeles. Glow, which is a show about female wrestlers starring Alison Brie, took outstanding performance by a stunt ensemble in a TV series. Sandra Oh won outstanding performance by a female actor in the drama series about a female assassin called Killing Eve. And a film series at UCLA is hoping to bring attention to more of the film world's most underappreciated artists. Our Christopher G. attended the UCLA film series Liberating Hollywood and saw how some voices have fought their way to the top.
Many cinephiles look to the 1970s as a golden age in American cinema. I'm Christopher G. at the Billy Wilder Theater in Westwood, where I met up with Maya Smuckler, whose new book, Liberating Hollywood, has spawned a film series that's re-examining the work of a handful of extraordinary women in film. Maya Smuckler's book, Liberating Hollywood, is the culmination of 20 years of academic work on women in film and came to fruition as she was working on her doctoral thesis.
So it was the sort of perfect homecoming to be able to plan this series with UCLA Film and Television Archive.
Maya examines how social and industrial conditions opened up opportunities for women in film in the 70s and how they coped with institutional sexism that still remains an issue.
Always been a cinephile. I've always been a feminist my whole entire life. And so as I grew up, I was able to put those interests in conversation with each other professionally.
Despite producing a wide range of unique films, from melodrama to exploitation biker films, Maya wanted to examine why names like Joan Tewksbury, Elaine May, and Barbara Peters are largely left out of film history.
They had been marginalized and for the most part excluded in film history. But most specifically to really look at these women not in terms of their gender but as individual filmmakers and to really be able to celebrate them as individual artists. Not only were they left out of historical texts, but in many instances they were left out of archives. So
speaking of left out, I asked Joan Tewksbury, whose film Old Boyfriends kicks off the series, if the absence of women director nominees at this year's Academy Awards bothered her.
You know what? No. It's about movies. I mean, I'm alone in this. People get very angry that I don't get angry. I'm not angry because there are a lot of films that have been directed by women. And to me, that's the most important thing.
Today, all kinds of powerful men and women are speaking out on behalf of fighting sexism and racism and ageism and homophobia, and that's really significant.
Maya hopes that her book and the film series will help bring a new appreciation to the work of these unique film artists.
And joining us now in studio with more on the Liberating Hollywood series and UCLA's Film and Television Archive is programmer Paul Malcolm. Welcome to the Beat on One.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start off. Tell us more about the archives at UCLA and the work that you do.
Well, the UCLA Film and Television Archive is the second largest film archive in the United States, second only to the Library of Congress because they got started before us. But we are the largest university film archive in the world, which basically means we collect film, television, all kinds of moving image media. We preserve and store it for safety. We restore it so it can be screened again, and we exhibit it in public theaters like we're doing for Liberating Hollywood. So I'm in the exhibition side of things at the archive.
And what inspired the series?
Well, this series was actually inspired by the work of two women. I'm here representing their work because they couldn't be here. So,
Renaissance man.
Just to get over that. But Maya Smuckler wrote the book Liberating Hollywood, which is a remarkable sort of, I would say counter history, but it's an additive history to what we've always known about, or we've heard about the new Hollywood in the 1970s, when Scorsese and Spielberg and George Lucas all got their start, when the Hollywood studios were trying to find a new direction, new voices to reach a new audience. There was also this whole group of women who got started at the same period of time. They started out around the same time, working in the same kind of genres. Yes, there we go. There's Elaine May, working on A New Leaf, and so. Those women kind of at some point this is Anne Bancroft working on Fatso, kind of got written out of the histories after a while, and their films stopped getting screened, and they stopped getting sort of attention.
They were mostly independent, right?
Well, a lot of Hollywood studios some of these were Hollywood studio films. Some of them were independent films, but they made this contribution to American cinema in the 70s and 80s that has been kind of written out of the history books, just sort of
because
overlooked.
the other has become such a canon, right? The canon of the 70s movies has always sort of lionized all these great male directors, and it's not taking away from those great films. They're still great films, but we sort of let go of all of these others.
Yes.
Is that a young Jeff Goldblum?
Yes, it is.
Looks like, yeah.
And Joan Micklin Silver's, I think, Moment to Moment.
Tell us about some of the films that you're showing.
Well, I think that, like you said, you know, the argument that Maya makes in the book is not that the films of Scorsese and Spielberg aren't amazing. They are. It's just that there is and should be room for these other amazing films made by these women filmmakers. And I think the other thing that's really amazing about this program that she and KJ Relf, my colleague at the Archive, put together is it's not just one type of film. I mean, you have romantic comedies like A New Leaf and The Heartbreak Kid by Elaine May, who is a master who deserves a lot more credit. But you also have these incredible, what we would call exploitation or horror films by Barbara Peters and Stephanie Rothman, The Velvet Vampire being one of my favorites, where they were taking the sort of politics and the sort of social cultural unrest of the time and channeling it through these genre films in really amazing ways.
Why didn't it get more attention at the time?
You know, I don't know. There's any number of different reasons. Maybe the films didn't do well at the box office, or they didn't connect with their audience at the time, or they did connect with their audience, but it's always making that second and third feature that then becomes difficult for women filmmakers.
The argument is, you know, Mike Nichols had this amazing career, and he did The Graduate, Heartbreak Kid. His partner, his comedic partner, Elaine May, very similar, capturing some of the big themes, the melancholy of that generation, and yet his career went on and on and on, and she had a few films, but she never had that sort of career.
And it's just the difference between, say, a male director gets a big hit and it's capturing lightning in a bottle. A woman has a big hit and it's a fluke or it's a one-off thing.
Well, it's also director jail, too.
Yes,
so there's director jail, which if a man makes a stinker, he has a couple more passes at other films before he's shut out. Women, one bad one, you're in director jail.
You get one chance and that's it.
Well, it's a whole new generation. I was just reading the statistics, and it says only 8% of the 250 films made last year were made by female directors. So maybe looking at this exhibit, it gives you a chance to take a look at what should be. Well,
I mean, yes, exactly. That's a crazy statistic. It's 8% is ridiculous. But if you look at the films a lot of films that on my top 10 list were from last year were made by women. The Rider was just a phenomenal film. I can't believe it's not getting nominated for anything. But so the idea is that if we can point to this history, if we can show that women have been making films for decades and they were amazing films, then there's a context for the work that's coming out now, and so it doesn't seem like, oh my gosh, this is a new thing. There's a history for this going back decades, and I think it's time we started paying attention to that.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having us. I appreciate it.
Great.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.